Give me a second. I'm gonna make sure that that camera is actually good. So just. All right, that's a good 20 seconds of your life gone. Um, hey guys. Um, this is actually being recorded directly after I recorded that reel. This is all very unscripted, and this is my very first take, so hopefully this goes through. Let's see. I wanted to talk about my soccer career. That's going. Okay, so let me start like summer 24. So about a year ago. This is my sophomore going into my junior year, and I am clubless. Like, I have nothing going for me in terms of like a career, you know. But I knew I was capable of having a career, you know. Like, I knew I was good enough. I just didn't have a team. And so I spent that summer, after I finished my summer courses at Grossmont, I took advantage of my connections. And in that, I mean, I asked my high school coach if he can get me into a club team. And he was just like, oh, yeah, they have an 08 team here where I coach at Surf Central. And I was just like, okay, cool. Only problem is that sorry if you haven't noticed, I'm recording inside for once, and sorry again. I am hearing things. Um, yeah, and only problem was that is that I didn't have a ride from point A to point B. So I had to take the trolley and bus to get to the practice that was right next to the airport downtown. That trip is upwards of an hour and a half. But in this case, I still had to go home and get my stuff ready. This is like the very first practice. And so that was a day. I eventually ended up getting my brother to take me, and I was like 30 minutes late. I'm shocked I was even able to get as far as I did, but I got there in the end. And yeah, I was 30 minutes late, and it went well. And so I asked the coach, and I asked him. I said, "Hey, so just talk to me. How did I do today?" He said, "Quote, I haven't seen enough of you yet. Just come back on. I don't come back whenever the next practice was, and we'll see how it is, right?" And so I kept going back. I think it was after my second week, just keep continuing to go and train with them and that team, that he was finally like, all right, we kind of need you, right? And that's because their starting keeper had just gotten injured. And he's like, you think you can register by this weekend? And blah, 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 blah. And I was just like, oh yeah, for sure. Let me talk to my mom about it. And I'll see what I can do. From day one, I had done my part, right? But the issue is that starting in a system that you know nothing about, like at all, is actually really complicated. So trying to get registered, especially since it was like almost mid year already, so it's like it was a big struggle to get first acclimated with the team and all the players, learning names and stuff. And then I had to and then the registration was a mess because the websites were terrible. And so finally we thought we had figured it out, right? And we finally thought I had gotten registered. And then I talked to the coach, and he's just like, so you want to play rec? And I was just like, He was just like, yeah, you you registered for rec. And I was like, huh? I didn't know. I was confused. I was lost because I didn't know the difference between rec competition, and to this day, I still barely know the difference between the different club levels, right? And so there's been a very sharp learning curve for me. But end of the day, that club was way too damn expensive, and I had to leave on the request of my mother, and so that threw me like straight into a depressive spiral, like that, just completely thought my career was over type shit, you know. And then I got a hoorah long ball from an old teammate of mine that I would actually play rec with, you know, AYSO. And he was just like, hey, I play at this club and we literally do not have a keeper. I was just like, bet, I'm there. Other issue was they were literally a 20-minute drive away. Mama didn't want to drive that far. So guess what I had to do? I had to take the bus. Guess how long that trip was? 2 hours and 15 minutes to go to practice. But lucky me, my junior year, right? I only had five classes, right? And so I got out at like 1:30. I was able to be home for a couple hours, and then I had to get ready and get out at like 3 o'clock because practice was at like 6. Right? So that long ass commute and the latest bus I can get there got me there like 30 minutes early. And then if I missed that last bus, I had to walk 2 miles if I missed my last transfer. So it like literally those first couple of weeks trying to like really play with that club, it was like hell on earth. But you know, you get used to it, right? Especially me, since that summer I'd been just taking the bus like clockwork. And you know, like literally one practice though with this club, and this coach, and it was a woman, but no, she was chill. This coach, she was just like, you know, you're good. Like, I want you on this team. And I was just like, bet. By the way, it was already mid league. Like, it was already mid league play. And so it was like I had to register at like ASAP. And I remember my very first game that I played with them, which was I think that very weekend. So I still didn't know like anyone's name. That weekend I played with them in a game versus the team I had left a month prior. And oh my god, my nerves had never been higher before a day in my life. Ever. I'd never had a more nerve-wracking game because they all knew me by name. But I wasn't registered yet. I was playing under the old keeper's name. Right? So I was stressing the fuck out. And so, anyways, I had the game of my life. We lost. But we should have lost by a lot more. If you really think about it, I had some incredible saves, right? And I think that is probably like on record one of my best games. Even though we lost, right? The final score was I think 3-2, which should have been like a lot more, but I did a good job that day. But you know, I made some mistakes here and there. A couple went through. Not much I can do about those though. Not like I remember each of them. It was 2 tap-ins from like the 6-yard box, and a Declan Rice 2025 versus Real Madrid level corner shot from what was his name, Easy. And I'm breaking my own rules now, but you get the point. Anyways, that was an experience, but I played with them for the rest of the season, and I don't think we won one game, and that was the game I only played half, and we won that one 1-0. and I think was it 0-0? I don't remember that game too well, but I remember with them, I played like 5 games with them. We won one, we lost the other four. So obviously not my best showings, but you get my point. I was on the club now, but those 6, 7, maybe 8 weeks I was with them came to a close pretty quickly because high school season starts in November, so league ends, high school season in November, and I had by far the most terrible high school soccer experience imaginable. So, one, my school's soccer team is already Division 5, and there's literally nothing I could have ever done about that, despite me being there for 3 years. Right? Well, despite me being on my third year there, I had no effect at all on the reason for us being D5, right? And so I remember my freshman year we were D4, but then varsity did not perform so well, so they got knocked down, and so they stayed, and so we're still D5. And tryouts was actually not that bad. We had a new coach because the coaching staff had left the previous season. Not all of them, like the assistant coaches had left, but the head coach stayed, and so he got someone that I met when I was still playing at the club downtown, right? And I was just like, oh. And so we got along pretty well. And so Coach Whitey, right? Shout out to Coach Whitey, great coach, love that guy. He was the new JV coach, and I was put back on JV for a third year. I want to point out I did not deserve JV this last season with my team. I know that for a fact because my coach told me, the one who put me on JV. Yeah, I know. I go insane every time I think about it. But yeah, I couldn't play for the first half of the season because I was failing one too many classes despite me having the 2.0 requirement. But apparently you also need to be passing 4 classes, and I was only passing 3 classes out of the 5 I was taking, and it was just a whole freaking ordeal, and I couldn't use my academic probation because of some bullshit. So anyways, terrible start to the season, but I kept going to trainings and everything, right? I got my grades together. I passed with a 3.8 last semester, which is the semester that I'm talking about. And so coming like first week back at school, January, I was able to play again. So that's what I did. And in my very first game back at it with this particular JV team, I think it was like 13-0. I was only in goal for the first 9, and then I was just like, Coach, why am I even here? Like I just had to switch me out. And might I add, it might have been 13-0, but I had more saves than goals in that game, which is a very important thing for me to mention. I had way more saves than goals that got scored. So I only conceded 9 that game, which, hurt because it was my first game back. And it still managed to go all downhill from there. It still, I don't ask me how, but it did. And the level to which I carried that goddamn team, oh my god. And we still lost every game that entire season. And Coach Whitey, shout out Coach Whitey again, he did everything he could for these boys, but I swear to God, they didn't know. I don't think they could tell the ball was round. It was bad. Like, it was bad. And anyways, come the end of the season, I had pretty much given up on everything because there was literally no point. There were good times here and there. Like, I remember, I think it was the very last game, in the regular season. Last game, regular season, we played West Hills. And I remember that game quite vividly because I enjoyed it a lot. It really seemed like we were starting to get it together. But then I remembered half of these people have barely played soccer at all in their life. They were completely shit at it. And a lot of our best players didn't play last season because of the head coach and his terrible decision making. Like putting me on JV for a third year when I really did not deserve to be put on JV for a third year. And yeah, no, I literally I understand being put on JV for as soon as I came back because I was probably not in form. I hadn't been playing with that team that much, right? I didn't make grades in the first half of the season. So there's a good amount of reasons of why I couldn't have played on varsity, immediately coming back in January, right? But then I proved myself time and time and time and time and time. Literally every single game I showed up. And we lost, but not because of me. I did everything I could. And no one else did. I did everything I could, no one else did. And it got to a point I was just so frustrated, but I knew I couldn't quit because my thing is I can't quit because I made a commitment. Sorry, just something clicked for something that just happened. So I couldn't quit. I was loyal. And honestly, believe it or not, that was still my best chance at making it anywhere beyond of where I was playing. Because that was still the most difficult soccer I had ever played at that point, Playing D5. Don't get me wrong, the teams in our league were all like D3, D2, D1, right? There was maybe one other D5 team because our league is really fucking difficult for some reason. And yeah, no. It was a challenging league. A lot of white boys. And white boy soccer is deadly for people who don't know the sport very well. And a lot of the people on my team didn't know the sport very well, so they just got eaten up every single time. And so that was my first ever win this season. But then high school season ended. On a very shitty note, by the way. I don't know what's going on there. That's a story for another day. But high school season ended. You know what starts up again? Club. You know where I didn't know I was gonna go? I didn't know what club I was gonna play for. I knew I had the in, and I knew how to use those connections that I had now, especially Coach Whitey, right? And so, oh yeah, and then also my old AYSO team that I had been playing for since I first started playing the sport, right? I played with these boys for literally ever, and so my old coach, Coach Gabriel, shout out, he got me started on this whole journey. He texted me. It's just like, hey, we're gonna run a team for a couple tournaments, one in May and one in July, and so we're basically getting the band back together. And I was just like, oh, hell yeah. I wasn't hell yeah. No, I was actually like, well, I don't know for sure because I'm keeping my options open and blah 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 blah. I was being that bitch, and because I am too good for that team. I am easily the best player on that team. I'll say that outright. I don't say that about a lot of things, but I'll say that outright. I was easily the best player on that team, and that's how you know the bar was low, because I am ass. And so I went back with them and I trained with them whenever I could, but they were never the priority. If there was another training I could go to, I was going to go to it, right? And so when my club, which is now Rebels Central, right? So when they started back up, I began to think, am I going to stay here or am I going to go? Because I still hadn't even played with these boys for more than 6 months. you know? And I was looking to see if maybe the grass would be greener on the other side, right? So Whitey hooked me up with a connection to Albion Chula Vista, right? And so I get there and I train with them for I think 2 weeks, right? 2 weeks in March, and I really enjoyed it there. It was really fun. It wasn't that stressful, but they had me training with the '09s because they didn't have an '08 team. And for that very specific reason, I did not stay with Albion Chula Vista. I was getting ready to get registered and everything too, but there was the toll to pay to drive there, right? It was a 10-minute drive, but you have to pay the toll both ways. And honestly, my mom likes to, yeah, it's all so expensive, me. Which she has a fair point. I'm not gonna say that we're not in struggling times, but there's a few things I could say, but I'm not gonna say that because I love my mom, and I'm not airing out dirty laundry there. Um, yeah, and so I decided that it was probably for the better for me to stay with Rebels. And on the topic of Rebels, we got a new coach for the '08s, Coach Mario. And Coach Mario Coach Mario is definitely a coach. I'm not gonna say he's a bad coach, but since I am still kind of playing with his team, I can't really give a strong opinion, and I don't want to because of this last weekend. But we'll get there. We'll get there. We'll get there. Relax. I know, long story, a lot of stories, but yeah, no, I trained with him once before taking the 2 weeks at Albion, just to get the feel for him, and it was an okay practice, right? Nothing really blew me out of the water, and so when I was seriously considering going to Albion. I called him and I said, "Hey, it might be a good idea to start looking for replacements for me because I might be leaving. I'm not sure yet, but I might be leaving." And he gave me a whole lecture on how the grass isn't always greener on the other side, right? And he didn't want to have to replace me because he'd rather just have one goalie. Let's say I thought about leaving, he found a replacement for me, but I didn't actually leave and I came back, right? He didn't want that to happen. He didn't want us fighting for playing time or whatever. He wanted me to grow and develop. And I want to play college. I do. I don't know if I have it in me to play college right now, but I want to. It's a goal that I wish to achieve. That's certainly possible, but it's not exactly in my grasp. Especially starting off with these aspirations so late. I had only become clear that I wanted to play college in January of this year. That's how behind in the learning curve that I am. And so um he gave me a whole lecture. He talked to me about his connections with other colleges. I think it was Mesa, and I guess there was some guy in LA, but that came up later. And it was just like, yeah, I can get you out there. I can get you the play that you need. And I was just like, you know what? Sold. And so I went back and I started training with him, and then we had a tournament out in Ramona, which was like 45-minute drive with the Trump boys. They had a Trump, like an actual Trump shot out there. Like, that shit's scary. Anyways, we get to that tournament. Game one, whoop ass, incredible. I didn't really do much, but whoop ass. We did a good job. Game two, whoop ass. Game three would have been, the third game against that opponent, but we decided to make game three the final because we would have played them and then we would have had to play them again later. And so, game three, 0-0 at full time. We go to pens. I saved one. The rest went in. And in order to even continue to the next round, our we were already. Oh no, huh? Okay, so in that penalty shootout, two people missed on my team, and I only saved one. Right, the first guy, and I think the last guy. Was it? No, I don't remember exactly, but I know the first guy missed for sure, and I'll call him John. And John, I was fuming because what he did was he didn't do nothing special. He didn't do a Panenka where he chipped it in the middle. He didn't shoot for the corners. He slid it straight down the middle, and the keeper who dove to the side was still able to get it with his feet because his feet were still there. That's literally the one spot you never want to go because it's too damn risky. And he took the risk and he failed. And so I don't take fault for the loss of that tournament because, I did what I could. I did everything I could. And I know I probably did make mistakes. I don't remember them too vividly anymore, but, I probably did. And so, yeah. But now it's April. We've had several weeks of training without any real games or anything. We've had a few scrimmages here and there versus some other teams where we just whoop ass. But, it is what it is. This is a great team, especially under Coach Mario's leadership. We have been doing a really good job. And at the end of April, the same week, the weekend after the story that I talked about in the last episode, where it was where I fucked up, right? That weekend, reeling still in my mistakes, I had a tournament. We had a tournament. It was what was it called? It was something at like the Oceanside Sports Complex. I don't remember what it was called. Oh, Spring Madness Cup, right? And so I just try and keep it out of my mind, right? And I did a really good job of that. I did keep it really out of my mind, but I made a few. I made a few mistakes, but I didn't really have to pay for them because we were whooping ass. We were finishing our shots. We were playing our game. We were playing the way we were supposed to play, and we play like Luis Enrique ball. A lot of passing, a lot of touches, a lot of swinging the ball like side to side, and then making those breaks. And so game one was game one we tied 0-0. So we're not exactly whooping ass, but but game two we got it together, and we whooped ass. It was final score. It was between 2-4 and 0, right? I got another clean sheet. And then game three, right? We're playing the leaders. We're in second or third place, but we need the win to secure the spot in the final. And we're playing the other guys who have already secured the spot in their final, right? And so we're coming off the day before. We had just we got a tie and a win. We're feeling good about ourselves, and we're about to play the top team. So we're playing like we gotta get it. We gotta get it. And we fucking got it. It was the final score for game three in the group stage. The final group stage game was 3-0 versus that team, and I got a penalty save out of that one too, because someone gave up a penalty, and suddenly I just became fucking Emmy Martinez in that goal, and and so coming out of the game we were feeling really fucking good, because now we're like, oh yeah, that's the team we have to play in like 3 to 4 hours, and we already whooped our ass, some like leg 1 leg 2 bullshit. And so we as a team decided, let's just go to Denny's and have a meal and then we'll go back, right? Because the game was literally like 2.5, almost 3 hours later, right? Which means we barely had enough time to go eat and come back. So we have our meal, and this is kind of including me, because I've noticed my diet, unless I'm like munching down a bunch of like spicy like chips, specifically like Takis or like hot fries, hot Cheetos, shit like that. Unless I'm stuffing those down my throat, my play isn't really affected by my diet, right? Because I don't do that much in the back. I'm the keeper, you know. And so I was being careful, but I wasn't careful enough, I guess, because I got some like brisket sizzle shit, and I guess I didn't read into that enough to realize that's not something I should be eating before a game. But it's okay because that wasn't even the worst thing, because our captain decided that, pancakes and 2 glasses of milk was perfect thing to eat. Um, yeah, we lost that final against the team we had just whooped. Um, it was first half. Uh, we just got destroyed. Like we were so goddamn cocky, and it just completely just we were literally sat on our asses. Like, it was bad. But never fear. Why? Because for some reason we turned into the fucking remontada kings that Real Madrid wished they were. Because second half, right? Coming up with like the last 10 minutes in the game, 5-10 minutes in the game, right? Now we're up 3-2. Whoa, the hell happened there, right? But then again, 2-0 is the most dangerous lead to have. It is what it is. I accept that. They didn't. They decided to pull a last minute winner because my dumbass can't communicate in the back, and this is a recurring issue that we will continue to get back to. So I've realized that I am really, really bad at getting the ball in the air. With my 6'1", like 6'1", 6'2" ass, I can't get the ball in the air against like a 5'9" motherfucker. Like, it's bad, right? And a lot of it is just confidence. I lack the confidence because I'm gonna be completely honest. I'm really scared of getting injured. Like, I am terrified. I am petrified. Why? Because I've had 2 concussions and a broken bone in my hand. My hand fucking broke playing the sport, and 2 concussions. Yeah, I'm fucking scared, but I'm not gonna say that to my team. I haven't said that out loud before. This is why I call these video diaries. I know I should be making these videos shorter, but I don't know. Anyways, I know I said we lost the final. Yeah, they got a last minute goal, 3-3, we went to pens. I saved the very first one with, I think, was the most beautiful penalty save I think you'll ever see. Right? Because they perfectly placed the shot in the bottom left corner from the shooter's perspective, and I just went all the way over. It was beautiful. I felt so good after that first shot. I was literally prime Emi Martinez for the first shot. The next 3 went in no problem. I went the wrong way twice. I went the right way, but not enough once. And I think, I don't know, someone missed their pen too, so we were on equal footing. By the end of round 5, it was 4-4. And so round 6, they shot first, and I get a hand on it. When they take their shot, I get a hand on it, but they went. I went one way, but they went down the middle, and so I had my hand trying to get it, but it wasn't quite enough. I got a hand on it, and it still bounced in, and my soul hurt in the moment, but it wasn't over yet, so I had to keep it up. Here comes fucking John. You remember the guy who completely floored the kick, literally, guess what he's about to do again? John sends it straight down the middle. Keeper gets an easy save. And that's it. That's the fucking tournament done. We got eliminated right then and there. And I'm not gonna say that it's not my fault, because primary reason they even got 3 goals in through the game in the first place is my fault. Not entirely my fault, but it's a good chunk my fault. And I'm not going to deny that. But in the dying moments of the game, I showed up. And I showed up a lot throughout the whole tournament. I think that was probably the best tournament I've ever played. And it showed so much, because the second, not really the second, but like he missed that pen, and I just on my knees. And I just sat there for maybe a good minute before I put my hands on my face, and I just broke down into tears, because that was all the tears that literally I hadn't cried in months. I don't cry that often, right? So all the tears that I usually I'm able to keep back, just completely. And so in that moment, you would expect your team to, come and comfort you, and you say, hey, you did your best, a bunch of shit like that. I got almost none of that. I was on the floor, literally sobbing, and the first person I hear come to my side was a random. It was a stranger who was watching from a distance, not super far, but from a distance, right? Because we had gained a crowd in those pens, because it was the end of the day, last day of the tournament, and we got a little bit of crowd, and it was a stranger. He said, hey man, I was watching what you were doing from outside the fence, because we were kind of fenced in. And I was like, you did everything you did incredible. Like and I was just like, I think that hurt, that loss right there, it hurt so much. That was literally like a stab into my heart. But we go and we get our medals, our second place medals, and I pull myself together kind of, but I get very, literally look at this. I was painting this today. I was waiting for it to dry while I recorded this, and look, I've titled it, I'm not done yet, but it's called When It Hurts, and it's basically me when I'm hurting. I get very quiet, and I get very, hence the tape on the mouth and shit like that. But and I get quiet and I stare. Nothing. I just stare at nothing. And so that was the mood that I was in. And I was like that all the way home. I mean, I slept in the car ride back because it was like 45 minutes from Oceanside, but you get the point. It just destroyed me. That whole thing, it destroyed me. And if I'm gonna be honest, I still haven't recovered. But you know what? That's a story for another day. This has been Gabriel Battle with your periodic video diaries, you could say. I believe this was number 6. I hope everyone has a good morning, good evening, and good night. Oh shit, that's from somewhere, isn't it? Yeah, probably. Like, comment, subscribe, some bullshit like that. Anyways, bye.